In today's media world, not everything you see or hear is real. AI is rewriting the rules of truth, trust, and creativity. Fake news goes hyper-real. Synthetic voices, synthetic faces, real influence. AI curates what we see, shaping what we buy, and even what we believe. Personalized, pushed, and persuasive. AI now creates the campaigns. Virtual influencers never age, never sleep, never stop selling. From discovery to checkout, AI powers every step. Instagram is now the world's biggest online shop window. Who owns creativity? What's real anymore? AI in media. Disrupting, redefining, reshaping.
All right, very good. I'm Les Mara. I'm director of KXSB, and pleasure to welcome you and host this event this evening. We are a more intimate group than we planned, but it makes the conversation easier. And as you can see there, the vexed question is human creativity versus technology, right? So our panel, and we'll get into that in a bit, I hope we have an interesting debate around that dynamic. Firstly, we do record this and we do put shorts out on YouTube, so if you have any aversion to that, please let us know and we'll try to edit out anything that's appropriate. The panel will be about 45 minutes, questions and answers. I will try to assertively facilitate that, so keep the questions concise, and I'll ask my panel members to also keep the answers concise, meaning we can get through as many questions as we can. KXSB is a not-for-profit company based in London. Our mission in life is to accelerate the adoption of good AI, okay? And to do that collaboratively and to do that through accelerators and process that mean things can be done in a faster cycle time. Vulture, many of you may know, one of the world's leading cloud providers now, specifically in and around AI, because of their adoption of AMD and NVIDIA and other GPU-type chips. 12 Labs, I would encourage you to use. I'll come back to that at the end, but they are a video AI company, and I think you'll find some of their tooling quite interesting. The panel, Nicholas, Tom, and Marcus, I'll let them introduce themselves in the interest of my croaky voice, but this is all about how AI is impacting the advertising and media industry and some of the opportunities and some of the threats around that. So, Nicholas, would you like to just say a few words and also give some context of your orientation around this debate?
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you for having me. My name is Nicholas Kokkinis. I'm based in London since ages. And I'm doing digital marketing. I'm one of the 30 globally certified experts by LinkedIn. And I started using AI since I heard it from London futurists. That was 10 years ago. And since that time, I understand the power of AI. I wrote a book in the US about AI and ethics. And now my goal is to improve marketing performance using Google, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So that's all about me.
Cool. I'm Tom Roope. I've been a digital creative for about 30 plus years or something like that. I was leading a team at Google across Europe, working with Google's biggest brands and biggest customers, helping them kind of implement Google technologies into their marketing. While I was there, I started getting exposed. We were near DeepMind, and like Gary Kasparov would be sitting having a coffee in our coffee area, and it was like all the AI stuff started happening. And I was a bad programmer when I was young, and I had a sense the transformative power of kind of AI. This is about 8-9 years ago, and like, we were working with Ubisoft, and we were doing a sprint with them about Assassin's Creed 6, which is all based on Egypt and stuff like that. And someone wrote on a sticky note, translate hieroglyphics using AI. So that became a project initially for Ubisoft that then became a big arts and culture project. Really exciting, working with Egyptologists and all that stuff. It's like amazing that you get an Egyptologist in your pocket. And then at the same time, Google brought out a camera called Eclipse camera, which basically is a video stream. It had an AI model looking at the stream and then pulled out images that it thought you would like. And that was trained on Google Photos that got likes. So it was the most depressing, boring opinion about what kind of visual and images were. So it's like, why is one really interesting and one really boring? And I come from a creative background, and you start going, actually, it's a quant-qual thing. So the kind of the average Egyptologist will give you a brilliant answer. The average photograph is really tedious and boring. So I come from a creative background. If you want attention, you need to be in the top 1%. AI is going to get you to 50%. So how do we work with AI to get into that top 1%? And that's when I left Google 5 years ago. That's all I've been looking at, is how can we use AI to output exceptional creative visual work when it gives you 50%. Okay. Anyway.
Marco, the CTO of the Fabricant. We work on fashion for an AI. I've been in AI since 2012. I had Siri in Cupertino in 2014. I was not the Italian voice of Siri, by the way. Then we start on a production company here in London, Happy Finish. We pioneer AI for advertising. So we generate the first commercial image for using AI in 2017. And since then, we work on a bunch of projects where nothing was ready for production. A lot of good promises for years and years, but finally things start moving, of course, in this new wave of AI. Now I'm focused with my new company, with the Fabricant, with fashion. Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, all right. Before we get into the Q&A proper, I'd like James to just come up and introduce himself. James is our host tonight, venue host, and as you walk through reception, I think you can see this is a pretty impressive facility. Does a lot of things. So, James.
Couple of that mic. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I've got a bit of dry throat as well. So
next slide.
Does this work?
Phil.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the intro. I'm really just here to welcome you to Plexal and kind of give you a bit of background of why maybe some of you have felt like you've come to the other side of London for this event. Plexal, as you can see on the slide, was part of a mission that came from the regeneration of the Olympic Park post the 2012 Olympics with a sister company called Here East. So the big building you would have seen the other side of here is Here East. And it was really created on a mission to regenerate this area, which was quite a deprived area many moons ago, as a result of the Olympics. A lot of legacy buildings, including all the athletes' villages, etc., were left to be decided what was going to happen, and essentially created Plexal as a bit of an engine for attracting small, medium businesses academia, large-scale industry into this area. And you fast forward to now, you see we're one of the creative hubs of London, and you can, if you've had a chance to walk around, I know it's quite late and dark, but you'll see the V&As here, you'll see the BBC, you see UCL, you see there's 5 different universities that are here, you've got a lot of NGOs and charities within Plexal. And I'm really excited about our sort of, skip slide, really excited about our sort of tie-up with KXSB, because I think we share the same mission around technology. I'm not going to go through some slides, but it's just to show you the kind of impact that Plexal has. What Plexal does is it helps drive innovation through technology, particularly aligned to government-related innovation. So, but we also work with small companies and do a bunch of services that help promote and grow those businesses. So for you as an audience, and you can see as part of the ecosystem here, that we collaborate, we create forums where you guys can learn from each other. We also provide mentoring services. We help help you work through your product market fit, help you understand your investor base. So there's lots of services and facilities that we can do, and I'm really excited to have you guys here, particularly for today's forum around AI. I personally also run a program that we do with academia, with large industry and SMEs on AI security, so I'm particularly interested in the security of AI, and I was interested to hear your point around safety and ethics as well. So I'd be happy to talk to you about that after this talk. But yeah, I don't really want to take up too much of your time. I just wanted to welcome you here. It's a fantastic facility. We've also got an offer for some free co-working space. So we've, if any of you want to come out and kind of use the facilities, we have offices in Shoreditch as well, and we've also got them in Manchester and also in Cheltenham, but that's even further down the road. But yeah, there's an offer on the website. If you want to take that up, then by all means, I think we'd welcome you here, and it's just to invite you to be part of this.
It's really good. Thank you, James.
Great. I'll pass you over. Thank you.
Next slide, Phil. So panel discussion. I guess the first question I'd like to sort of pose is this one about human creativity versus technology. And, Tom, you touched on it already in terms of the 1% dynamic, but where do you see the direction of travel in terms of how that's unfolding? And, is there going to be a train wreck, and if so, when, and on what scale?
Do you want me to say that? Okay, again, it's been really interesting doing this for 5 years. I used to keep talking about this averaging machine, and there's a really good commentator on this called Benedict Evans, who basically said AI does not have a signal for good and original, and it articulates it very well. It's trained on what is good, and what is good isn't necessarily original, so it can't tell the difference. So it's been really interesting. That's the bit which is where all my focus is, as like, how do we, that's where the human is needed at the moment. It's just incredibly transformative. There's like conceptual parts, and then there's the whole kind of business part. So working in the sort of film production side, and how time and materials businesses are going to be massively impacted by this, because all film production has always been about marking up people's time and the stuff that they have to hire. Suddenly, in this world where we're in, and I'm talking very much from kind of the image creation, content creation side of stuff, suddenly the whole kind of world is upside down. Okay. So it's...
So to summarise, you would say the need for human creativity is not going to be eroded by AI, but the production of downstream artifacts is probably, AI will disintermediate a lot of the production processes.
It separates lots of things. So before you had to know how to take a photograph and then have an idea about taking a photograph. Now you can just have an idea about taking a photograph and create a photograph. Okay. So there's all this, it's kind of opening up the opportunity. I went to film school. Film directors are usually a type of person because they need to manage in chaos and pressure and stuff like that. So only certain types of people made film. Now with these new tools, new people who wouldn't have been able to make film are making film.
With an iPhone.
So one of like nice aunties who's a AI artist who's pretty well known. She's a Singaporean lady who just sits in her house and creates all these worlds, which is just not feasible before.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm talking too much.
Nicholas?
Thank you. I'm doing digital advertising since 1999. And in the recent years, I spent more than nine-figure advertising budget. Creative is one part, but second has to do with the content and how they match together. And the goal is for platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, Meta, whatever, Google, to have the correct content that resonates with the audience. Behind that, we have the sophisticated algorithms, especially from Google and Facebook. So the goal is to serve and have a good conversion rates and all these things. So to answer your question, creativity from humans will not stop for the next 1 to 2 years. Of course, we have leaps from AI, but has nothing to do with human creativity yet, because it contains as well content, visuals, and also the company character. So we're getting there. I think in 2 years from now, AI creativity will sweep everything, will change everything, but we're not still there.
It's so overwhelming, everything at the moment, because you know when you are getting ready for years for this period of time. It's like I do the analogy. You are getting ready for rain, you took the umbrella, so you're ready there, but actually getting a storm rather than just rain. And I think that's my feeling in these last 3 years, a growing feeling. So it's still difficult because it's, I'm kind of, because I'm literally coding, programming computers for 4 years now, because I start at 8. I was 8. And then I was in creativity 30 years because I was doing music videos before jumping into software engineering. So I've been in this intersection for ages. And it's still like, okay, but I was not ready for this mess that is now. And to go to your question, I feel like, for me, the answer is obvious. Creativity is just a human thing. What you see, just tools. They respond to a request from humans, and that's it. There is no trace here, nothing they tell. What you see, it's the side effect of our intelligence. There's no human, they want to create art or creativity. Whatever you see, if you call creativity, I tell you, it's just a bunch of pixels. They looks very good. That's it. And of course, this bunch of pixels is unfortunately replacing a lot of tasks that graphic designers, filmmakers, whoever they are doing so far. So of course there is inconvenience, but still like it's not creativity. The creativity comes from the person that is engaging with the machine, tell, can you do this? And I think it will stay like that for a long time. I don't know for how long, because at some point I could imagine robots that now, we also see the robots in the new industry, probably making art as well. So it will be another story.
I was in Austin at South by Southwest, and it was interesting going to a lot of the academic talks, and I think there was the ex-head of science from Salesforce, and so he presented his top 20, he presented the previous year, and he gave his top 20 predictions from last year, and he got 17 of them right. And the 3 he got wrong were all about creativity. Okay. So there wasn't a top 10 track made from AI and stuff like that. So there has been this shift of power in the creative industry from advertising, kind of qualitative creative mindset to the big digital platforms who are more science, quants people, and they think that there seems to be a belief that if they throw more compute and more data at it, they will solve the creative problem. And again, it goes back to there is no signal for original and good.
Okay.
And it's, yeah.
So what I think I'm hearing you say is creativity is alive and well, long live creativity. And AI, if it's got a role to play, is about productivity. Is that fair, or am I getting it completely wrong here?
Say again?
I'm saying, what I think I'm hearing you say is that AI is not a threat to human creativity, but it is an enabler for productivity.
Yes.
Okay.
It's about pointing, humans need to, for me there's 3 stages where humans can intervene, and it's like data set design, engineering and curation. So that's where humans can intervene to be able to make something that's both get AI to make something that's both original and good. Because on its own it's going to make average, and it's going to make lots of good stuff.
But also another thing, from marketing point of view about productivity, AI can generate great ideas, so it can give ideas to humans. So that's great, like tool. However, if you have a creative that is AI, Facebook and LinkedIn will penalize that. So it will be at the bottom of the list because it understands that. Google is a different story, but social media still need human creativity.
Also, I mean, I don't think it's scalable at all, because creativity is based also some rarity on that. You cannot generate 1 million advertising videos and pretend that people they're gonna play that 1 million advertising video, because they will not care at all. Nobody is watching all the content that you can generate right now. So creativity is something always that has an audience, otherwise has no value. And that's something that wherever you can, it could be the best movie ever, still without audience interest to watch it, there's no value.
So, given we're a more intimate audience, I'd like to sort of engage with you, ladies and gentlemen. Questions for the panel based upon what you've just heard and what you've just listened to? Who's going to volunteer to? Yeah. Can I borrow that?
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. That was a great opening, and we obviously at the junction of either terrible things will happen and human creativity will be wiped out, or we will do great. But I think I've got a question. So I was just in California, and I was judging students' competition for AI movies. And it was really interesting, because people who had their own personal style of either drawing or photography, they were quite comfortable getting AI to do short movies in that style. And you can see the consistency, you can see the creative vision, the artistic handwriting. While the artists who didn't have quite distinct style were just kind of mashing and mixing, and it was hard to watch because it didn't retain the context that well. So maybe we will, the question is, do you think we will learn to watch AI slop or adjust to it, or do you think we will see similar to what happened with collages, when collage came with Flash, with Adobe, that the best people will survive and the best artists will drive this forward?
My partner's sort of AI artist, and she spends 12 hours just making one shot. And again, it's a tool to express your vision, to express vision. And as you're absolutely right, that someone who's got a voice in AI is going to have a voice, and people who are just using the averaging machine, it's going to be incredibly tedious. And it comes back to attention. It has to be original and good for you to notice it. Otherwise, as you say, it just becomes slop. What it does is it means you don't have to invest a lot of time to get to average. What is exciting with AI is that the ability to prototype and iterate is incredibly, you can have 20 ideas and you don't have to invest lots of time and money to try those 20 ideas out. So the freedom it gives you is incredibly, but the kind of banality, it needs vision and voice, and whether AI will one day do that, but at the moment I don't think. It defaults to average, and average doesn't get noticed.
Okay. Any other questions at the moment? Yep.
Which tool do you guys recommend to use? I know that it depends, like on the.
Apart of my our tools, I'm not gonna self-promote here. I mean, depends what you want to do. I don't believe in the tools particularly. I say, oh wow, this one you have to do this because, I mean, if you want to do video, VO, or Sora, they're good, but there are also all the other ones. They're amazing. If you want to do image, Midjourney is still kind of good to do that. I'm not really impressed by the tool themselves to say, oh wow, they are making much difference, because actually I see a lot of leveling on that, and a lot of the work is based on the artists that they actually do the job. You make so much difference if you are able to prompt, if you are able to fine tune. Sometimes with LoRa, all that kind of fine tuning systems, and of course there are people doing a lot with open source, especially the Chinese one that are very good. Queen, there is ByteDance, is nice as a proprietary as well. But all of them, I think over the last year, they kind of starting to be very, very, it's very difficult to tell, this is definitely better than the other one. I think you need to try a bit everything and see probably what it fits better, what you need to do. Sometimes speed, cost, could be specs, so yeah.
So
Yeah, it's often what we'll have to do is try have the idea and try it across 10 different tools, because the latent space of each tool is different. So what you're trying to, like, Photoshop was terrible, and then we had to make some icing glass. It was brilliant at it. Who knew? You know, but then you can get into comfy UI and start really, again, it's how deep down you want to go into engineering, or try across a whole scope of stuff and see which one's sort of delivering on what you want, really.
I think the best tool is the one that you are more familiar with. I saw many people using Discord, Midjourney, whatever, and they know all the tips and tricks, so they are only into that. Of course, there are good tools here and there, but if you are familiar with something, then it's very easy for you. It has to do with the human element as well.
So we're building quite a lot of systems at the moment. So what a lot of the big advertising networks did when AI started coming out was invest in really expensive tools and spent long time building stuff. So by the time it launches, it's totally irrelevant. So everything we're trying to do is got kind of, we keep referring to everything as Lego blocks, and as soon as a new tool comes out that's better than one of the Lego blocks, you just swap out the Lego block. So again, it's changing so rapidly that you need to engineer at a very, very kind of scrappy, interchangeable rate.
So that kind of segues into what was going to be my next question, which is, as you know, experts in your field and having been pioneers with a lot of this over the recent past, what is the one significant learning or advice you would give, or guidance you would give, coaching you give in terms of how to go about it? You know, is it to go deep, or is it to go broad, or how would you frame that, Nicholas?
From my experience, to go deep.
Go deep.
Yeah, it's clear, because if you go, of course you can test everything, of course you can play around, but if you know exactly your game, then you will be required, let's say, from the market. So go deep and know exactly your game and be good in one thing, but really expert.
And is the prerequisite of that having clarity of what you're trying to achieve by way of an outcome, or a deliverable?
These days, it's like you can learn everything so fast, and you have so many assistants, so you don't have prerequisites. You need to be diligent and also have passion about what you're doing, so to really like it. When I wrote my book in 2023, and it was published in the US, it was ChatGPT 3, and only what I could do was just to correct some grammar errors, to be an editor. And now I see Claude and tools like that they can write the full book immediately. But the point is to know one thing and to know it really well.
Okay. Tom? Difference of opinion?
One thing I've been quite good at in my life is knowing what's going to happen in 5 years. The problem is you then got to build your way. I never can be asked to build my way to what's going to be happening in 5 years, so I kind of miss the boat. So it's what I'm learning is like, if we're going to, with my colleagues, we refer it to, we're going into the faster horses phase. So faster horses means it's going to be, we're going into mix shoots with AI, and like we're doing the sort of rudimentary, AI is going to slot in as a tool in the traditional production process. We know in the end we're going to have feature films made with AI, but let's not start there. Let's start with how do we exchange shots? How do we slowly start building out in scrappy way, so we're learning but actually producing work rather than building out this kind of 5-year moving towards a 5-year vision rather than let's start building the 5-year vision now.
So it's small sprints.
Yes. Well, it's test and learn. So a lot of the work, I've been trying to avoid advertising because trying to move into more product thinking about how we're going to build something out over 5 years. There's going to be instances where we do stuff with brands or we build stuff out, but it's building on a fundamental kind of concept.
Okay. Marco?
I definitely learned to stay focused a lot. So that's my learning in the last probably 2 years especially. Focus means I really ignore all this noise as much as I can, as much as I build a lot of things. But this one increases my performance as a, let's say, engineer. In the engineer side, it become crazily high. And literally, I post, I think I do the calculation a couple of weeks ago. I've done this year so far 3,300 contribution on code, while the average in the world is 400. And this one happens purely because I remove all the inefficiency. I don't do meetings. I don't test all the tools in the world. I don't care anymore about this. I just use AI for increased efficiency. I'm not. I think is the big problem that I see now is the fact that all these toys. I need to test this and this and that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't waste time on that. It's try to use AI only to make yourself as a superhuman. That means you work less, but you do way more, because that's exactly what happens to me. I spend way more time with my family, and I actually produce way more than 1 year ago.
Role model for all of us. So, filter, you're saying?
Totally. That's what we need to do. The problem is the linked algorithms, or X algorithms, they try to privilege noise, all this noise to show content that is absolutely nonsense, has no meaning. But don't waste time on that. Take one route and keep going on that.
Let me ask our audience again. Feedback, comments, observations? Yep. Oh. I need a roving mic.
I'm generally in agreement with you about the fact that I don't think AI can replace human creativity, especially not, at least in the short and mid-term. What I'm quite interested in finding out, because I've been seeing no one really knows how this is going to play out, is how does it actually affect the way that, because we're here to talk about advertising and media, how does it actually going to start affecting the structure of the industry when you have, do agencies shrink and just get rid of the middle of the agency, so you essentially have like a board with a bunch of younger AI operators just running the company? do they take all the sort of production in-house? What happens to production companies? What happens to directors, to cinematographers? How does that all fit together? Are we just going to be sitting at home on our screens, working hourly rates, or is this going to open up some sort of, a utopian market where anyone can reach their market? Because creating these things is now completely democratized. You can create whatever you want. But how do you actually live off doing that? Is that over, or are we back to, engagement and eyeballs? And because I look at it and I just can't see how it's going to play out.
I still think there's lots of skills. That skills may shift. So it might not be a cinematographer. It might be a curator suddenly. Again, curation. My partner was an assistant director in production company for years. She loves photography, and now she can make stuff. She couldn't make it in the historic production company, and now she generates and has become a commercial artist. So there's different skill sets. Again, as I said, like data set design, engineering, curation become 3 different ways of kind of influencing that kind of vision, creating emotional communication and controlling the kind of aesthetics that come out in commercial advertising. There's other things at play in terms of what will happen with advertising. So how subscribing to agents for low consideration products is really going to destroy a large part of the advertising. Dishwasher tablets, there's no point. As soon as my agent is buying dishwasher tablets, there's no point advertising dishwasher tablets to me. So there'll be a shift in how people consume stuff, as well as the kind of marketing. What will be marketed still will change. But again, that whole, I'm really obsessed with this. The original good question is still down to humans, and that is craft. That's the kind of, and that craft might not be the craft that historically was used to make films, but it will still be craft around how does something look, how does that make somebody feel, how's that going to get somebody's attention?
Okay. Yeah. So I think in the agency side, you need different skills now, because when you go to a customer, you don't present 1 creative or 2 creatives, you present 50, and they select what they want. So the first, let's say, wave of creativity comes from AI, and then when they dive deeper, they go to something that has to do with human touch. So all these people have to upskill, for sure. That's the first thing. But I think in the next 4 or 5 years, for the same movie, we will watch different movie. I will have different happy ending, or I will have drama, or whatever. So we're talking about a period of 3-4 years ahead, but in 3-4 years, everything will change again.
Any other thoughts, comments before we move on? None? Okay. So my feeling, may be wrong, is that materially advertising media is a business-to-consumer industry. Examples of, Instagram now being the biggest online marketplace. How, as an industry, does AI enable positive change, and where do you see that positive change? And to your point, Nicholas, where do the regulators and the policymakers play into this to put guardrails around what gets done, for good, and avoid what gets done for bad actors and bad players? I'm thinking about, overpricing and cartels to create FOMO around washing dishwasher tablets and, all the rest of it. How do we manage the goodness of the productivity and avoid the threat of abuse?
First of all, it depends what you mean positive. You have to define what is positive, because what I see is massive move of wealth from all over the world towards the countries that are highly developed in AI. For example, Of course, we have the dishwasher and all these things, etc. That will become a commodity, but you will still have a Starbucks. So instead of buying any coffee, you will buy Starbucks because it's status. So we're talking about massive move of wealth from countries like in Germany, France, towards UK and the US. So the positive change will be for the UK and the US, but negative for Germany.
I mean, yeah, it looks like everything will adjust itself in some way, and hopefully, because it's clear that there are countries like, I don't know, US, where they want to be kind of more arrogant on the fact that they can do things without guardrails specifically, or like with guardrails they are not clear. There is Europe, continental Europe especially, there is putting too many guardrails probably for what's happening. Economy is based on the fact that we need to try to create demand and privilege offer as well, and demand in a way that things flow in the right way, so I create wealth. So it's very difficult to say we should put more guardrails here, less guardrails here. I think we'll adjust in a way that unfortunately will affect people. We know that there will be people not ready for this. It happens all the time. Every industrial revolution had people migrating entire continent to go and work from, I don't know, rural side to or other countries, moving to other countries. And that's part of the transformation that we're going to see, maybe in a digital way, not in a physical way, but yeah, it's going to be like that.
Okay.
I said, so when I left Google, I did another project for Google, and it was around emotions. And I read a paper. It was a research paper out of Harvard and Stanford and a few other of the top Ivy League universities, and it was called "Misery is Not Miserly," and it says that miserable people spend 3 times as much money as happy people. And so if you have an algorithm that's optimized for selling, that you would imagine that algorithm without any direction would try and make people miserable and self-orientated. So it's this kind of unaccountable algorithmic stuff that will happen is the thing that's quite concerning. Because no human's ever given it, the human has set it the task of optimizing for sales, and you would imagine that algorithm, if it can move the dials on you emotionally, it would try to make you miserable and self-orientated. So they're the things that start concerning you, that there's going to be these externalities of kind of algorithmic marketing that are not kind of foreseen, and if they're not tracked or kind of countered, you kind of go, there's going to be, well, lots of feedback comes back from social media that people get miserable and self-orientated, and you go, I wonder whether that's the algorithms moving them in that direction. So I think that it's how we track, how we as a society are careful that those externalities aren't causing too much trouble in societal problems.
Hello. There used to be something called ethical AI or ethics in AI, so that's out the window then from what you've just been saying, I think. Is that true, or what are we going to expect? And if AI in advertising is kind of running out of control, what happens to the Advertising Standards Authority and things like that, which are stand over what we already have, right? You can't lie, just mislead. And you just brought up guardrails versus little guardrails or no guardrails, and you could just advertise everything or anything you fart. So are we just going to be in the law of the jungle?
Well, I think my point is that we do need, there is protection on this historic stuff, and we need protection from these algorithmic. There's a really good, whenever I used to make music videos, you have to test it doesn't flicker enough to trigger epilepsy. Yeah. And is there ways of testing and guarding, checking that these algorithms aren't moving people, aren't taking particular strategies to optimize to hit their goals. So I totally agree. The point was, I'm very concerned that these things are happening unchecked. And I think Facebook did have they got in a lot of trouble by doing that research, finding things that people didn't like a lot, and then got exposed for having that research and not exposing it.
Okay.
I think my point is the way things are coming out now, that they won't need to care about it because they've got so much power that no one can restrain them.
Well, I agree.
Okay. Yep. Andy?
Thank you very much. I think the question that needs to be asked is that are we all collectively sticking our heads into the sand in terms of creative work? Because I can tell you, I'm in fashion. I've been in fashion 20 years. If you can save me 20K of a photo shoot, which your new tool does, right?
Yeah.
I will do that. And I will do that, and I will test it in the market 3, 5, 10 options, because instead of spending 20K, I'll rather pay you probably a quarter of that, hopefully, because if I'm using automation, I expect saving. But I'm taking away stylist, photographer, the whole shamir that happens around photo shoot. As a brand, I have to look at optimizing my budget, so I will use your tool. But who is going to pay for reskilling of all the poor lot that I'm not using? That's one question. And I think that's a question for the industry, because this reskilling will have to happen very quickly, because if your tool is as good as you advertise, everybody will use it, right? So there will be thousands and thousands of stylists, photographers, models, helpers, assistants who will go out of business very shortly. But the second thing that I think is worth looking at is the sheer volume of creative that we need. I used to run Topshop for 10 years online, and I have been given maybe 4 or 5 collections a year, and that was called fast fashion. Now I run a number of different campaigns for different people, and the monster of social media is insatiable. Insatiable. Brands cannot produce enough, because the moment you drop something, people want, what's next? What's new? What's next? So there is a massive need for output, and I think this output will compete automation to automation, because there's no way humans can do that. You guys spend 24/7 on your TikTok, somebody's got to produce that. So we will get to the point very quickly when there is no chance for creativity to really be given space, because we have to produce 30 campaigns a week, which means the machine will create it, and the machine will compete with other advertising created by different machine. I already have seen proposals. Somebody was sending me a proposal for a system that scrapes the best ads in my category and then redoes my product to match those ads. So there's no human around it, it's just system to system. So I think the whole idea that there will be some human creativity floating around, it's probably a massive over-optimistic overstatement. How would you respond to that?
Again, we're working with quite a lot of clients, well, lots of agencies who are being requested by their clients to go, we spend all this money on the big TV shoots, and then we have to generate all this social media stuff, and they're not connected. So how do you connect? So exactly that kind of, how do you make a system? It still needs that vision and differentiation, because just copying, again, there is AI left on its own is going to become a smaller and smaller boring circle of deflavorizing unless humans do pull out the original good stuff. But I think that there's something you were saying about making systems that are going to generate lots and lots of stuff, but being led by that kind of the traditional way of making an aesthetic world for a brand. So we did some stuff with LVMH, and you started realizing that the person who sat and curated the models was actually the equivalent of the film director. So everything that came out of that model felt like it was in that LVMH brand world. So they're still crafting it, but then you're crafting a machine that can then pump out that content.
So, we need to speed up a bit, I'm afraid, because we're going to run out of time quite quickly. But
just give me a sec, because it's about fashion, so definitely. No, yeah, it's. I speak daily with fashion designers, with the industry, because of course that's my role. Even if I stay on the technical, what we say is, yes, things is gonna change in the way that we will be able to produce the volume needed at some point without all the crew, right? But at the same time, we're conscious, because the first time that I actually discussed something like that was with the Next, was in 2018. So the first time that they came to me and said, can we do volume photo shooting with AI? So of course it didn't work at that time for years and years, as I mentioned. So right now, what we ask is to make sure, and that's what we help brands, is to make sure they don't forget what the branding identity needs in terms of quality as well, and also the potential backlash from the audience as well. There are many brands that are super excited to work with us, with AI in general, not just as all the competitors, but they still like kind of conscious of the fact that their audience, they don't want to see images produced by AI. There is no logic, there is no reason as much as just because it's made by AI. So all this decision, all this change in the mood of people will take time, but for sure we see that the stuff is changing, but fashion designers are still needed a lot, creative directors are still needed a lot. Photographer, I think they will need to change the way that they produce, because actually we have many customers, many clients, they are photographers. They really love to use our tools to do photography. As much as not photography anymore with a camera, but it's more a conceptual photography. So yeah, the world is changing in time for sure, and fashion is one of them.
I think your point's well made. There will be a seismic shift in the demographics of employment as a consequence of the technology. Probably time for 2 more questions or thoughts from the audience. Please volunteer willingly before my friend Andy comes and picks on you. There's one at the back, Andy.
With AI-enabled advertisements, I love the title. I came a bit late with the panel discussion. In the sense of like authenticity with how adverts are actually run. Obviously, you want something like with creatives, understanding how people actually are going to engage into the advert and how they actually, 1, get the message, and 2, understand. AI is very skeptic, because obviously it's not always going to get creativity perfect, right? Because it's not a human intelligence, right? So you don't really understand how an AI, essentially, like, as we get more progressive with like AI and how AI actually is run right now, obviously it's about keeping the human creativity element. And like, obviously this is the age-old question, can you make robots conscious, right? Which I don't believe that it can, innit? But yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
And the question was?
And the question was, can AI-enabled advertisements be more creative as a human, like compared to a human, in a sense?
Okay. I think we kind of touched on it maybe before you arrived, but I think no worries. The consensus, I think, was AI is not going to replace human creativity or originality. So is that right?
But I think it's going to allow you to explore a lot more stuff. It's going to accelerate your ability to investigate potential ideas and shorten the distance between an idea and being able to see and experience something.
Okay. All right.
This is just a sort of interesting technical question. Like, given that the models we have at the moment have been trained by pretty much everything we've ever done in terms of words and images and videos, etc., and now even though there's sort of synthetic data, it's still being, these models are still being trained on the internet. 70% of which is now being, new stuff is actually being created by AI. So where does this lead us? Because this to me sounds like sort of cognitive sort of inbreeding, where AIs are being, more advanced AIs are being trained on AI content. So where does this actually end up? It doesn't sound good to me.
Well, it's a consolidate again. I remember one of the first. We started a company in 1995, and our first client was Levi's, and a guy called Jim Carroll came from BBH to give us a talk. And he talked about all the research they did before they did the big Levi's ad, and all the research told them not to be too American, too backward looking, and they totally rejected all of it. Because that you're in the loop of, it's the faster horse. If you ask people what they wanted, they'd want faster horses. They don't. The big hope for humankind is that we can spot original and good. AI will just keep doing this. It'll be good, boring, unless it's flipped out. And I think there's other strategies to be doing stuff. At the moment we train AI. It's all about, we have an idea, we convert that idea into a picture or a picture or a film, and then we make that film and we hope that has the emotional impact on the person. You could shortcut that going, I want somebody to have that emotional experience. How would you train an AI to do that? So it would make its own pictures up. You don't have to tell it what pictures to do. So there's lots of ways around starting to think outside the sort of, we're going to use AI to do what we've done before.
Okay.
But do you think in terms of like, if you're doing creative production, because it seems to me that one of the ways around all of this is to essentially train your own models. And this is perhaps what you meant when you were talking about data sets being one of the sort of important skills, like a curational skill.
It's like, it's the mise en scène. It's like, what does this world feel like? Again, all great directors bring that stuff to it, and that comes through, again, usually data set design, but that can be engineering and curation. Someone sits and looks at 10,000 pictures and finds the one that is nailing, and the reality is it takes a lot of time. Like all great things, it takes time.
Thank God for that.
Very quickly.
I have something positive.
Very good.
Just to maybe finish on the strong note, I was involved very recently in the commissioning of a quite large ad for a large e-commerce platform. And, they could afford anything, AI, no NI, famous person, not famous person. And I'm absolutely adamant that the director to be chosen for shooting the ads had to be a fantastic artist. And the composer who was chosen to create the soundtrack had to be a phenomenal musician. And how they work, nobody was interested. They could go and use AI. The commissioning brand could not care less, but they wanted the human on it.
Yeah.
However the human wanted to out was irrelevant, so the human might have gone and used Sonu for all they could, but they want somebody's face on it, there was somebody's creative responsibility on it, and somebody's ethics, talking about AI ethics. So if it goes wrong, it's on David Bowie or something like that. Okay. So I think humans will win.
Excellent. Well, let's hope that's true. I need to bring this to a close, I'm afraid, because of time. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for your contribution. I think the takeaways are we're not going to be replaced by AI. It's important to retain focus and purpose in terms of how you're using the tools. The tools are largely productivity-centric, do things faster, the faster horses, whatever. Phil, can we have the next slide, please? So we thought, as an incentive for being here tonight, we'd offer you a short prize to look at the KXSB website and propaganda and think about how you could use AI to amplify the messaging. And there's a small prize of £250 for that, plus some credits from 12 labs. we were thinking that you were going to have a 1 in 100 chance of winning that, but it's more like 1 in 30. So all I say is, enter to enjoy. And because the probability of winning is increased. The entry is on Discord on the KXSB channel. I want to hand over now to Andy for final 5 minutes to talk about an event in January, which plays into some of the discussion about multi-agents and robotics and how they train themselves and how we avoid becoming disintermediated in terms of the future landscape. Andy.
Could you just move the chair so we can see your...
Oh, sorry. That was my way of avoiding paying the prize. Andy. Next slide, Phil.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to talk a little bit about our next big upcoming initiative, which we are calling AR26. AR26 stands for Agents and Robotics HackXelerator. And that's where we're going to reimagine and show what intelligent systems can do in this space of agentic AI and robotics. We're going to kick it off right here in London on the 9th of January. It's going to be a hybrid event, so you can join from anywhere. And that's going to initiate a 20-day process, which is going to go from ideation to solution to prototyping. So it's going to end with working prototypes, and the deadline for that is going to be the 30th of January, so over a 20-day period. And then on the 6th of February, we're going to have a showcase event where we're going to highlight all the top solutions. And there's also going to be a prize giving for the best solutions. Next one. So we've structured the HackXelerator into 4 missions where we see the most innovation in this space. So the first mission is around digital agents, and that is intelligent agents making decisions, working with humans to make decisions. The second mission is around human-robot interaction, and this is where robots are going to sense and learn and work collaboratively with humans. And the third one is around autonomous systems, which is where drones and vehicles and robots are going to sense, learn, and again, work autonomously in the real world. And the final one, you might not be able to see it here, but it's around ethics and societal impact. And that's because building AI responsibly is just as important as building it fast. And then what you can get out of this, there's several things. First is we're going to not only talk about solutions, but we are going to actually build solutions. And there's going to be working prototypes that's coming out of this. Second is there's going to be, we expect a large portion of our community to attend. The last HackXelerator, we had about 350 people attend. And there's going to be tech partners who have products in this space that will actively participate. There's going to be some educators in here. There's going to be some researchers. There's going to be some corporations as well. So there's going to be an excellent networking opportunity. Of course, going through this process, working with tech partners is going to allow you to build new skills and familiarity with products. So that's another benefit. And of course, community growth. So the more we work together, faster we can build AI. The most importantly, we have awards coming out of this. So we're going to recognize in each one of the missions, we're going to recognize as top solutions. and that's going to be demonstrated at the showcase event, which is also, it's in Berlin, but it's also going to be a hybrid event as well. So it's going to, you can attend it from anywhere. And the top 2 from each one of the missions will get a cash award. I think the top place is going to get £1,000. Second place is £500, and there's added on to that will be awards coming from our tech partners as well. So that could be in the form of credits. Yeah. So if that sounds like your kind of challenge, you can get started now, started early. Just if you haven't joined KXSB already, go to KXSB, sign up. And within the KXSB site, you have the AR26 site. In that, you can register for the AR26 event. And then once you do that, you can engage in Discord, actively start creating projects, bringing team members together. And if you have questions around AR26, how this works. Sorry. Yeah. If you have questions around how this thing works or more details around AR26, then we can cover that during Discord or right after this session. I'll be around. And then finally, I think that's finally that's creating of the teams. Okay. Well, if you go into the website, it's there's a link in there for Discord once you sign up. Yeah. Yeah. If this sounds like something you'd like to do, we hope to see you all on January 9th.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Outside, please feel free to mingle, chat to each other. Chat to our speakers to the extent they're here. Thank you for attending.